CarMax is putting peace of mind back in car shopping by putting you in the driver's seat to find a ride that's right for you. Because at CarMax, we believe you shouldn't just settle for a car. You should love your car. That's why every car we sell is CarMax certified quality, so you can be sure with upfront pricing that's the same for every customer. So don't settle. Find love at first drive and start shopping now at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way car buying should be.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Adrith, Min, Sexcalibur Bones-a-Lot, Madeline, Edward, Sunzi, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Boezy, Jeremy, Allie, Mr. Ragebomb, Logan, Libby, Wes, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Matthew, Jonathan, Isaac, and Karoon. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group, where we will be running from big-ass monsters daily.
I started a new rock band. It's a cover band. It's called Blanket.
Mikey, do you just forget that you've used these jokes on us? It was in the Little Italy episode on Romancing the Pod.
That's a different podcast. We can use jokes twice.
No.
I've seen a lot of movies about men self-destructing for women and taking out their whole friend group in the process, but this one
Oof magoo.
takes the cake.
This is My Great Gatsby.
What?
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It does. It
No, it
does. A man
totally
destroying
tracks,
his entire
bro.
life for a woman. That
It's
does
scary
track.
that you can't see that.
The green light is a monster.
Exactly.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin on Paige.
I'm the Mikey.
And I'm the Todd, which means I'm the guy who doesn't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, you guys, as we started, or I guess this is the second movie in National Disaster Month?
Disaster Month.
That's what it is. We watched
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield.
Clover the Fields.
I do want to get ahead of this because people have been asking. We absolutely wanted to do -1 and thought it would be available by this time, and it was not. But if it is available by the time we do listener request, please.
Unfortunately, it's going to be like Antlers, and we'll never see it again.
I do want to I was actually there for that conversation that you guys had about this whole month.
Yes.
And it was like, how can we figure
How
out
do we
how
find
to do...
a way to do -1? Yes.
It was. Yeah, it was very much that. And so we were all disappointed it didn't happen.
Fine, Cloverfield. So Manhattan.
Tell me about it. How you feeling, Paige?
Yeah, we have to do first thoughts.
This movie is what I like to call 10-11.
Oh, fuck.
Wait, are you saying that if 9/11 had a sequel, we'd call that sequel 10/11 and not 9/12?
Yeah, we're not going to call it 9/12. It's the now you see me, now you don't. 9/11, 10/11. Duh.
I want you all to know I hate this premise, but I have to know the answer to this question.
It was a giant zombie outbreak, and we called it 789.
Oh, there you go.
Whoever
there you
bought
go.
you that dad joke calendar can go to hell.
Okay. This and things like this are my recurring nightmare. This movie actually did scare me quite a bit.
Same, girl. Yeah.
This is the same reason why the newer War of the Worlds scares the shit out of me too. Now, I also have, and I don't know if it's just because I was a teenager when 9/11 happened, so I've viscerally remember that day, and I have always lived near large metropolitan cities.
Yeah, same.
And so there is always a little gnawing thing in the back of my mind of it could always happen again. You never know. That this is a particular fear of mine. But also, I noticed something in this movie. The day 9/11 happened, I watched the news all day, home alone from school.
Right.
Yeah.
And they aired in the coming days after 9/11 footage that they found from cameras.
Yeah, they did.
Like this movie.
Yeah.
There's a very famous one that you can find on YouTube if you want to have nightmares.
Yeah.
I have seen it many times. It's for me, I don't know why I'm so fascinated by it, but I have watched it many times where it's a group of college kids in the dorms
Yeah.
at NYU.
I know what you're talking
You've
about.
seen this one?
So have
and
I.
they're watching out the window. So the first plane hits, they wake up and they're like, what the hell is happening? They get a camera out and they're looking out the window and they happen to be looking as the second plane hits.
Yeah.
It is literally when it happens, it is that. Like, they completely ripped that off for this movie. But then moments later, when they're down in the bodega, there's another 9/11 video from inside a bodega at Ground Zero where the clouds just gray out the windows like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
They show that in this movie. And there was a bunch of footage from like people who had cameras on the day of that.
Yep.
When that building collapses in the movie, it was just like that. It just flooded the street. Like,
and them just running. Yes.
the first thing I thought when you see, is it Lily or Lizzie? Lizzie Kaplan?
Lizzie Kaplan, who plays Marlena. Yes. Yeah.
When she walks out and she's covered in that smoke, I was like, if she survives, she's probably going to get cancer in the next 5 years.
Oh, like immediately, like next year.
Because she like breathed in so much asbestos and stuff. Like,
Well, I wouldn't worry about it now.
Yeah.
no, she didn't have to worry about that.
There is also a 9/11 video from the street that you watch the cloud go through and then you watch it settle, and a guy just walks out of the cloud like she does.
Yeah.
Head to toe.
Yeah.
Head to toe.
It's crazy.
Yes. So I feel like, and again, when 9/11 happened, I was in fucking California, safe in my living room, terrified, but like, you know, I don't know why I was getting like secondary PTSD watching this movie. I was like, oh shit, they really nailed it.
Because a lot of it looks the same. I honestly feel like this movie took a lot of like the imagery that we saw on the news at that time and just changed it to a Godzilla type monster, right?
But I also love that we don't see a ton of the monster. Like, we're seeing pieces of it. It works perfect for me.
I thought it was insane. It was so insane.
I haven't watched this in a number of years. I thought it held up really well.
Yeah.
And I it's right, because they don't show the monster a lot. And like that first Godzilla remake did this style.
Yeah.
Now it's Godzilla and Kong teaming up to defeat aliens or whatever. But like, it started very grounded. I mean, Cloverfield got us excited about giant monsters again and kind of started that up.
Yes.
But I thought this held up really well. I think the personal stories held up well.
Yeah.
I would never follow this guy across the city to save his girlfriend.
Absolutely not. And if I was the girlfriend, fucking leave me there. Like, use this podcast as proof. Leave me there.
I would have made it all the way to like, they're like, we got to climb for 39 stories and get out. And the height stuff, I'd have been like, she's dead.
She's dead.
The building is leaning. We're done.
Yeah. We're all dead because we did not leave with the army, who were probably going to shoot us as soon as we got off the island. That's how this always happens.
Well, in a disaster, you need to you need to keep moving. You don't need to move into the...
Yes.
I mean, he just lost his brother, so he was not thinking well.
He's not in a good emotional space. Same with Lily. I think that's why Lily goes too, is they're not in a great emotional place.
I would have maybe punched him and like dragged him with me, or at least had a physical confrontation to like see.
I would have thought about it. Yeah.
But that suspension of disbelief, I think the we need to go rescue my girlfriend may not work for me as like the motivator to go across town.
Same.
They could have just been in the epicenter and been like, we need to try to get away, and all that stuff could have still happened to them.
Yes.
But besides that, I thought the suspension works, the scares still work. I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, agreed.
It's insane to me that you guys keep calling Beth his girlfriend. They were not boyfriend and girlfriend.
They weren't together. They were on a break.
They weren't even on a break. They hooked up a few months ago, and then
I know.
He, I guess, ghosted her on some level, and then
I guess
she started dating somebody else.
Look, that happens. You hook up with the love of your life and accidentally ghost her before you move to Japan, and then a giant monster attacks and almost kills her, and you have to go save her, and that's what happens.
Well, and here's the wild thing is that he was about to move to Tokyo, and then this happens here. Like, you'd expect this to happen in Tokyo.
I think it's really cool, and some might say a ripoff, that this took a lot of the imagery that we saw from 9/11 and put it into a big monster type film like Godzilla did for the nuclear bombs that were dropped on them in the 40s.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
yes.
I think that that's super cool. Like, I really dug that about this movie. Although, can I reveal something that is going to be probably a little personally embarrassing?
Sure, go for it.
I knew nothing about this movie. I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
Because we did it for the episode. That's my only...
Oh, yeah, because the sequels have nothing to do with this film.
Right.
Well, they don't. They're in the same universe, but you don't know that till the very, very end of the movie.
Allegedly. But they're like scripts that have nothing to do with this, and then like, throw the Cloverfield name on it.
I think 10 Cloverfield Lane's a great, great movie.
Oh, it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
It's just not a sequel to this film.
Oh, I don't think it is a sequel. I think that's why it's not Cloverfield 2.
Yeah.
It's a whole different sort of title, but I think it's great. All of that to say, that's the only movie I had seen.
Right.
In this, like, oeuvre, in this universe or whatever.
Okay.
So, like, I assumed when it started that it was like found footage and shaky cam and shitty and like hard to watch at
Oh.
first, that it was going to be a super low budget movie, like a super low budget movie. So when shit started popping off, I started losing my damn mind because I truly did not expect any of like the big natural disaster stuff to be on camera at all.
Yeah.
There were so many times Natalie and I watched this together, like laying in bed, and I kept going, Jesus Christ, like saying that aloud, because it's like something scary happens, and at the very beginning, the earthquake or whatever that they think it is for like 30 seconds.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's the big thing, and now we're gonna see some creepy stuff. And I thought they were going to be like inside or maybe in the subway, like tunnels.
Right.
Which I do think this movie does a good job of getting them into like locations that are not just the open street.
Yes, because you could only shoot so much open street. That's
Right?
so expensive.
I know, but it's way more open street than I expected, though, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they immediately go to the basement of the building that are all connected by tunnels or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you see some crazy shit. I mean, I eventually looked at the budget and I was like, okay, that makes sense. They spent money on this movie because the effects, like even for 2008, still hold up great.
I do think that this is probably the best found footage film.
I would agree with you, Mikey. I was thinking that the whole time I was watching this because it is difficult to watch if you get motion sick. 100%.
I bet it was way worse in the theaters.
Yeah, it was way worse in theaters. People were like getting sick in the theaters. But like, now it does break down as the movie goes because at a certain point you would have just fucking dropped the camera and never picked it back up again, right?
Yeah, they do a good job of making that cameraman like sort of a doofus idiot who like has never been important in his life and then all of a sudden feels like what he is doing tonight
is important
for the first time in his life is important.
Well, and here's the thing. It's like, for me, the point at which I really stopped believing they would have the camera at all is when he dies and then other people pick up the camera. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You would just run.
I definitely wouldn't have. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I honestly, okay, not to spoil the ending at the beginning of this episode, but it came out 2008. You've had plenty of time. I wish the movie ended when TJ Miller dies.
Me too.
And the camera falls back on him and that's it. Because then we can like, well, maybe they got out. And that to me is a better ending than hearing them say, I love you, and then getting crushed by the bridge above them.
I agree with you because I feel like that would be a more realistic ending. And the reason I think this is such a good found footage movie is I feel like it is so realistic. And in part because it's based on real footage that we have, right?
Yeah.
I'll spoil a fun fact for you. The original trailer for this movie was just the shots of them in the bodega and the Statue of Liberty's head rolling down the street. No titles, no information about what it was.
Oh, shit.
Didn't even tell you what movie it was. And this is happening in like 2006.
I think it was 2008. I believe it was 2008.
Yeah, it was 2007-ish was when the trailer came out.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
And all it says is like produced by J.J. Abrams
Yeah, that
during
was it.
Lost Peak.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm excited for this movie where the Statue of Liberty head rolls down the street.
Yes, but we're talking 5-6 years after 9/11 happened, and all of us that lived through that day are like in the theaters being like, oh God, not again.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It really tapped into that. I mean, it really tapped into that horror.
Yeah.
And it does such a good job. It really does hold up. I'm with you, Todd. I think the nihilistic ending kind of sucks for me because I'm like, oh yeah, they get in the chopper, and then like that chopper pilot was just like, I don't know, like rubbernecking to look at the monsters.
He
Like,
was?
get the civilians out of there.
I'm not going to circle a monster even if I think we've got it down. I'm going to go ahead and like fly the fuck away.
You're an evac chopper, not an attack chopper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I hope they lived after the bridge collapsed. I think you can find it. They did a bunch of like stuff online back when the internet was cool about like what really happened and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you could look up and see if you could find if people have lived. Like they went deep.
Yeah.
But I also feel like the fact that they survived the helicopter crash seemed insane to me too.
Yes.
Because people never do.
I think they should have just flown out or the chopper should have crashed. But how do you wrap it up without it being like that? But I was rooting for those two damn kids, you know?
Me too.
Meh. I would have been fine with an ending at the chopper crash or an ending with TJ Miller dying. Because to me, I'm like, that's the type of footage you would actually find.
Yeah. It doesn't break the realism for me. Like you said, like if that was me and I had gone back to get Natalie and we left together, I would not go get Mikey's camera to then go to continue on his legacy. I don't give a shit. I'm running away from this.
No, and if like we were all like that happening and we were like getting evac'd and then Todd's like, I've got to go back across town for Natalie, I'd been like,
sorry, Natalie.
good luck, my friend.
I get it.
We love you, but we're going to run.
Yeah, like
I was like, if you hurry now, you can buy life insurance on this.
if I had been in that situation and you were like, I got to go back for somebody, I'd be like, I love you. I understand. I'm leaving here. I'll see you. Hopefully, if you survive, look for me. Try to find me.
Right.
I would not, if I'm doing something as dumb as that and I know it, I'm not going to let people come with me like that. That is insanity. Maybe TJ's Miller character by himself, because obviously he's expendable as a person.
He does not have a lot going for him even today.
Yeah, exactly. And he's his bestie, and he's, maybe you and a sidekick are going. But am I going to let like 5 people follow me across town to die? No.
Yeah.
I'm like, go follow the strangers. Do not come with me.
Yeah, we're not crewing up. Like, I don't understand why Lizzie Kaplan stays with them at all.
Yeah.
But he already lost a brother, so I think they're in their rights to Saving Private Ryan him and just knock him out and drag him out of the front lines, because his mom can't lose both kids that day.
That's fair.
You know what? I completely agree with you.
That's valid.
Even though that means Beth probably would have died.
Well, Beth does die. It is for naught.
Well, okay. No, I know. But I mean, like, if they had left her in the building, she probably would have died there, as opposed to, like, having to get up and do a bunch of fucking cardio, having a through and through in her shoulder, then being squished under a bridge. Yeah.
She would have never known.
Who are the real villains, guys? That's what Paige and I are saying.
Hold on, I want to test something. Hey, Jake, if Cloverfield happened and I was dying and you had a chance to get away, you'd get away, right?
What'd he say?
He said, I mean, yeah, if you were dying. So there you go.
He's a smart man.
Mutual understanding.
Yeah.
It's like, run.
I also find it hard to believe that the monster would stop and get so annoyed at TJ Miller that he eats him himself, just as a single person. Like, I'm not going to pick up 1/2 of a peanut in the grass and eat it,
Right, fair.
Not after I've been bombed all night.
I thought it was really funny that he didn't eat him whole, I guess.
I thought so too, and I was like, where'd they find this camera and the droppings? Do they even have droppings? They're aliens.
They do. They have droppings. They're just spiders.
Oh, yeah, God, I fucking hated that shit.
I don't think he was shitting those spiders. I think they were like just crawling off of him.
Dropping. They were dropping off of him.
Or babies? Were they babies?
No, they're just like parasites.
I don't know what they are. I think it's interesting that, like, we never get any of that.
We have no information. We never get any information.
Like, we never get that. And if you want that, you need to report to the local government authority for your re-education seminar.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of we're never going to get that we're never going to get from this movie. And I sort of respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, honestly.
Because the conceit is there was like a really amazing editor that worked at the Department of Defense who wanted to pull out this like really sweet love story / tragedy.
Right.
Like I do think it's hilarious that this whole movie is like built on the predicate of like, this guy found this footage and cut it down to a tight 80-minute, like really good story.
Perfect length.
You guys gotta pass around anyone with top secret level clearance.
Exactly.
But other than that wacky like conceit for this movie, I thought it was really amazing.
I've got to Google this. I need to know if they died.
Of course they died. What are you talking about? Everyone died.
Well, the camera died.
Yeah, no, all of them died, dude.
Yeah, the camera got crushed from above, it looks like, and they're bigger than a camera.
Oh.
What did you Google and what did it say? Like, you just reacted like you put into Google, did the 2 people at the end of Cloverfield die at the end? And Google just said, yeah, duh. And you went, oh.
Did I 100% write that? Yes, I did. There's an alternate ending when Rob and Beth do survive.
Oh, I've never seen that.
The difference between the 2 endings is mere seconds. But the 2 extra seconds, you can hear them talking after the rubble falls.
Okay. Then I would think they got away. No joke. I would think that they survived that.
Maybe.
And then it cuts to a military officer picking up the camera.
Okay.
With them like in the background.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, that would definitely signify that they lived. And I would like that more.
I'm going to believe in that because I need a happy ending today.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I like that more than the ending we got. But also, I sort of think the movie's pretty great even as is.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, let's say they did live. Let's go down a dark path.
Okay.
Do you think they know they sacrificed all of their friends for them to be together, like all of their lives?
I think the guilt eats them alive and it ruins their lives and relationships. Yes, because I would never live that down.
Rob would say that the monster ate TJ Miller alive, not the guilt.
If I was Beth, I'd feel terrible.
I think Beth is the only one that would feel terrible. I think that he would be like, justified. It's fine.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Lose everyone for the one person.
The really sad thing is when they get divorced in 12 years.
Right?
Just like Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock in Speed.
That is kind of what it's like.
Think about the trauma bond. They would be like so in love.
They would be
God.
for a little while.
Okay, guys, business plan.
Oh, God.
It's like Michael Douglas's The Game, but it's like
But you hire people to trauma bond, like, so that you survive a horrible disaster together? That sounds awful. That sounds terrible.
but so effective.
Only temporarily.
Like, why are we using psychology to just help people like traditionally? Like, why don't we get weird with it?
Do you not want people to find true love, Paige? And Mikey, I have an alternate pitch for you. One that doesn't cost us any money. Let's start a dating game show about surviving traumatic events together. All of it staged, all of it safe, all of it love.
No. Rich people pay us hundreds of thousands of dollars to curate fake trauma bonding experiences.
No, because then I think you're tricking people into staying together because of a thing that didn't happen.
What is love if not that?
I mean, I would hope that my relationship that is very loving is not that at all. Thank you.
If the emotions are real, Paige, is the bond?
No.
You know?
No, I don't. I think that's a very slippery slope of badness.
Okay, how about this? We only take reservations from third parties who set the two people up.
That's even worse.
So neither of them know that they're seeing set up the trauma bond.
That's horrible.
Mikey, I love this premise, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. G and yes.
Oh, God.
That's my 2 reasons.
Ching, cha.
No.
Cha,
Ching. How did you forget which came first in the cha or the ching? It's not even that late. It's 8:40. What are we doing?
I had a weird day. But wouldn't it be a good horror movie to find out that the person you fell in love with is because your friends hired people to like torture you guys and get trauma on you or whatever and chase you?
Oh, you mean V for Vendetta? Yeah, that would be horrible.
I honestly do think it's a really good idea. I mean, like, what you're doing is giving you and your potential first date / wife-to-be the chance to create a story so powerful it stands the test of time.
A giant monster. And then they bang.
Oh, it seems like you ordered the giant monster and then bang package. That's going to be $170,000.
Just like the worst adult Make-A-Wish.
You're welcome.
Oddly enough, John Cena demands to be involved.
It's John Cena in a Godzilla suit just trying to murder 2 people to get them to fall in love.
I feel like he'd be down.
Anyway, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene.
Yes. We open on no credits, which must have made Todd happy.
There technically are credits, and I really do want to point this out because it is perfect. They're like so low effort government like things.
Yes.
Like stamps. It's almost not even typeset. It's so crazy. And like it's clear they've like put text over text.
Yes.
So you can see like Department of Defense is like faded out or whatever. It's so low effort. It has to be government work. And I thought it was perfect.
Oh yeah, no, they did a great job, but that's not credits. That's just a title card.
No, I know.
Like there's no like
Yeah.
in this movie is, so it's not really a credit. It's your first scene.
Yeah.
Title card, Department of Defense at what used to be Central Park. Basically, it's a formerly Central Park.
Yeah.
Cloverfield incident. We cut to a New York apartment. 2 people are waking up ostensibly after a night of banging. Cool. And they're going to go to Coney Island. We cut to months later with no explanation. We will find out shortly what has happened.
Yeah.
Where someone else has the camera and they're going to the store to pick up stuff for a going away party. What we will find out is the guy that we saw in the first scene has taken a job and is moving to Japan. The guy who now has the camera is his brother, and his brother's girlfriend are throwing him a going away party, and they have invited the girl from the original clip because they don't know that they slept together and it has ruined their friendship.
Right. I do want to point out that in the very first shot that we actually see the camera, it is of sort of our main character, Jason, like walking towards like the window overlooking Central Park, and it's
Yes.
6:42 a.m.
Right. Which is the same time it is that it ends at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it like bookends with that time. And I'm a sucker for bookends like that. Like, well done, guys.
I am, but that fucks with the realism. Because what are the odds?
I mean, I don't think it does necessarily, because it's not like it's one day later his life is so changed. Because that's actually like 3 months later. But
It's those kind of coincidences. That's how you know that Cloverfield was an inside job.
there
yeah.
you go. That's what's
that's
up.
how we know the government released. What do they call this monster? I can't even like.
They
The
don't.
Cloverfield monster.
Really?
After the movie, it was just the Cloverfield monster.
Okay.
But like in the movie, they don't call it anything. They just call it it. What is it?
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
What is it?
Anyway, so they're prepping for the party. Their friend TJ Miller, his name is Hud. He's barely in this movie in front of the camera, but he bears the responsibility for most of the voiceover of this movie as it goes. He becomes kind of, in a way, our audience stand-in because he's holding the camera.
It's interesting to see him before his proto-caricature, before he becomes the annoying person in everything he ever does.
Yeah.
This has to be one of the first things he did. And I didn't look it up.
I like him so much better in this film, a little bit more muted than his other stuff. I mean, take all the personal awfulness out.
Yeah.
You mean just the performance?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
the performance. He's usually way too much for me, and I hate it.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more subdued, but still like funny guy, and I thought it was a lot better than most stuff he's ever done. So
Yeah.
Paige, this is the first thing he ever did.
I figured, yeah.
Or at least first movie. He was in a TV show from 2007 to 2008, so he probably had filmed most of that before this, but
Yeah.
this is his first film. But I agree, Mikey. I thought he was way more palatable in this movie than he later became. Although, I don't know, he did sort of just fall into that like funny asshole lane in most of his movies and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the brother hands TJ Miller the camera to ask him to do testimonials at this party, like things where people are going to be like, okay, goodbye, good to see you, which I do think that is, for me, a better bookend with what happens at the end of the movie as opposed to the time.
Yeah, they do that too. You're right.
Because that makes sense in both instances for me, where it's like, you would absolutely do this at a party. You would absolutely do this if you knew you were going to die and you had a camera. Those are real choices people would make.
Yeah.
But the coincidence of it being the same time every time, either the editor specifically did that, or that, I don't know why that would be that kind of a coincidence.
In both scenes, the main character says it's 6:42. He doesn't just put up the thing.
Yeah.
So it's not just that. It's like he just happens to be looking at his watch at 6:42. But I do think this is a thematic better bookend, the one you're talking about.
I think so too.
Because
Yes,
they are
yeah.
doing it and it makes sense in both places. I also really love that in sort of a fun little device, it cuts out us having to see a bunch
Yes.
of like fake testimonials we don't care about, but yet doesn't break the realism of this is just found footage.
Right.
And it also sets up HUD as like a doofus character who it took him probably 5 or 6 times to realize he was only capturing the moments in between asking people for a testimonial, and then he was pressing the button to capture it, thereby turning off the camera.
Right.
And then when they finished, he turns it back on thinking he's turning it off. Anyway, I thought that was very funny and a clever way to not break the realism.
I think so too, because that's one of my number one complaints about found footage movies is that to try and create realism, they include too much stuff. Whenever you're watching a found footage movie, the conceit of it is that someone grabbed all this footage and edited it together to make it make sense. And any editor would pull that out. But this is displayed as, instead of somebody finding it and cutting it together, it is just on file with Department of Defense's evidence. So, like, it makes a little more sense to go that way.
yeah.
It's almost like the Department of Defense uses this videotape so they can show it to people to be like, okay, we need to figure out what this is, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And they fast forward through the bits
Yes.
that are like personal story, and they're so mad they can't get someone to edit just the stuff they need.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's like that level of like, this is just a found footage, you know?
Yes.
Which I really do love that they put that much commitment into making that seem real, because that is a big problem in most of those.
Well, and we also, one of the things we'll start to see is we get cuts between the party that we're watching and the day at Coney Island that they experienced in the past because he didn't take the tape out. So he's literally taping over their day at Coney Island.
Now, that's not HUD's fault because his
No,
brother
they just
was
handed him
already
the camera.
using it. Yeah.
Yes.
So that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that was Jason's brother, who I think was his name Rob or something like that. Robert.
No. Oh, geez, I have it in the notes later.
But Jason's brother.
Jason. No. Jason is the one who dies. So Jason is the brother.
Oh,
Rob
shit.
is the brother that. Yeah.
Then I had it backwards.
Yeah, you had it backwards.
So so I think I even said Jason before when I meant Rob.
Yeah. So the party continues. Beth, the girl from the first shot, shows up with someone else. Which is our first clue that there has been a passage of time.
Yeah.
And they end up arguing out in the hallway. Basically, we find out they slept together. He kind of ghosted her after because he felt weird about it. And then the whole party finds out, which is my favorite part of the early part of this movie is TJ Miller with the camera going and spreading the rumor around the entire party.
Well,
Hilarious.
because he doesn't know he's turned it on because he's thought he's turned it off.
Yes.
And it's so funny that he's like walking around being like, so did you hear that they slept together? Yeah, it's a big secret, River. Don't tell anybody. And by the time Beth comes back in, everybody knows they slept together.
Everybody knows.
It's so funny.
Well, she brought that other guy.
Yeah.
Drama.
But it had been months
It has been months.
since they talked, which I think Beth was into him. And I think
Yeah, of course.
she was sort of hurt.
She's in love. They in love with each other. They were
Yeah,
like
yeah,
close
yeah.
friends, and they never did it until he started to move.
So, like, I do think it was Rob's fault that he didn't literally ask her at the end of the Coney Island date for whatever it was if they wanted to see each other, like, the next day.
Well, if you want to hear some psychological shit, Rob's refusal to be vulnerable and express his feelings to her kills her and him and all their friends. Go to therapy.
Yeah, go to therapy.
Because if he would have had that day, slept with her and been like, I'm super scared to move away because I care about you this much.
Yeah.
They would have had a different interaction at the party. She would have probably been there the whole time. They would have evacuated with the army.
Yes.
That's fair, actually. That's true.
And even if the monster thing didn't happen, I do think, he wouldn't have gone to Japan for her. I would definitely...
Or they would have gone to Japan together and they wouldn't have
That's what
been
I was
there
gonna
at
say.
all.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it would be one or the other.
But either way, she'd be alive.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
And all of his friends would be alive. Because, like, Rob's a villain. He is the Cloverfield monster. Like, are you so scared of your feelings that it takes watching your brother be killed by a giant monster and her to be almost dead and calling you because she loves you so much and you refuse to acknowledge it for the last 3 months to go to her? He's the true monster here.
Oh, that's a hot take, Mikey. Here's a hot take. The true monster is all those crisis actors that are pretending like this happened.
No, Todd.
Those are the real monsters. Look it up, Halle Burton or whatever.
Oh, jeez, no.
Jesus,
This is clearly a joke.
I like that you say that at the end because people hate that so much that I like that joke because you're like, this is a joke.
I just need to make it known so I don't have to, like, edit.
You know they're coming for your ARs because the Cloverfield monster.
We can't. I can't. But also, yeah, I mean, do you know how many people that would have to be? That's so expensive. That's why it couldn't be crisis actors.
And a cast of thousands.
A cast of thousands?
Hey, I've seen the original Oliver that Disney put out in the 60s. There's a lot of people on that stage.
That's true.
That's a lot of crisis actors in Oliver.
That is not the example a heteronormative man would use.
I don't know. It was like 1850s London and everyone looked like they were in crisis. So I just assumed.
I will say we did a cult podcast episode on a multiple year film project in Russia that functions as a city of its own. And that's the only way I think you could do something like this with crisis actors is to have like established a whole city.
Well, if the Truman Show had any fucking balls, they would have had a giant monster attack that city.
I do love the Truman Show.
They could have got weird with it and really trauma bonded him in.
We have a 6-point business plan we'd like you to look at and consider, Paige.
We're going to mix up Love is Blind, Truman Show, Cloverfield. Oh man, what was the other one?
The Ultimatum and Couple to
From
Thruple.
couple to thruple.
Hey, listen, my brother's dead and we saved Beth's life, so...
Beth, Lily, what are you guys doing later?
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway. So Beth leaves the party because she's like, you fucking jerk. And she leaves. Everyone else is still at the party. And there has been a passage of time. And I think that's another thing that the effect of having TJ Miller not know how the camera works helps is that, like, we don't know how long Beth left. So we assume she had time to get back to her apartment, which is a different part of the city.
Yeah.
Let me ask the real questions about Cloverfield.
All right.
Rob, so emotionally immature that he can't deal with her, Beth.
Right.
How does this man, who has emotional problems like this, have so many adult friendships? Answer this.
Because this was at a time when we didn't completely live on the internet, and so you had to know people in real life.
College. Got it.
I think Mikey is asking for himself.
I know. I'm answering for him.
Hey, I had friends in college.
Mikey, exactly. That was around this time, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was. I saw this film in college.
We're legit in a loneliness crisis in this country. Well, probably the world.
You guys, I have a loneliness crisis. It's in my pants.
Oh, no.
He doesn't have two friends to talk to down there.
Oh, geez. I've got a handful of friends that we like specifically make time to go out.
I've got more than a handful of friends.
You mean real friends? Sorry.
I meant
Mikey
real
and I
friends.
both thought something completely different. Sorry, yeah.
No, I meant real friends where we go out and talk shit on other people that we know and things that they have posted online instead of just texting them to each other like normal people.
If my thing and his friends are talking shit, I did some bad paperwork.
Anyway, they should have murdered Rob at the beginning and more people would have lived.
I don't think murdered Rob. But
They didn't know what was going to happen, Mikey.
Yeah.
But they could have.
are we to the scene where like the first event happens?
Not yet. I
Okay.
can't get there because you keep interrupting me with your loneliness.
I'm sorry. You sound just like the girl I matched with on that app.
So Beth has left, and there is what they perceive to be an earthquake. Now, earthquakes are not typical in New York, so everyone kind of freaks out
Okay, so
for a few minutes.
I got to point out here, I love the conversation that Rob and his buddies, and I think it's one of them is his brother and the other one's a guy I'm not sure we see again.
Right.
But the conversation they're having on like the emergency stair like way that's on like a lot of buildings in New York. Because they're like, listen, man, if you love her, you've got to go tell her you love her. You've got to like
Right.
tell her what's going on with you
Right.
and let her know because it's not fair for her to just not know.
Right.
Clearly, they're like, because she clearly loves you too. Like, it's so obvious.
Right.
Go fucking talk to her. So, like, I think this story was always going to end this way because from this moment on, he was never not going to go to Beth.
Yes.
And I sort of, as much as I hate that he does it, love that he does it in the movie because it's set up so convincingly here.
I
mean, like
don't.
as a narrative device.
Even as a narrative device, I'm like, self-preservation would take over.
Oh, I think
Like,
it would
No
too.
one would do it.
No, I think he would go, but I don't think in real life his friends would go.
Same.
I think they're like, he's lost, run. Like, go.
But also, I think the way they make Rob as being like this good guy, I don't think he'd let his friends go either.
I would hope not.
Except for TJ Miller, because I think they all secretly want him to be eaten
A little bit.
by a giant monster.
Yeah, because I also think Rob, like you, Mikey, thinks of TJ Miller's character as a sidekick and not like a fully realized person.
100%.
Yeah. You know what? So do we. Like, I feel like that's the way the whole movie is like positioning him as.
Absolutely. Well, and so the earthquake happens. They're like, what is going on? They run down and look at the news. And the news is like, hey, there was an earthquake, but also there's this tanker that's like capsizing right in the Hudson River. Like, that's unusual. And they all decide to run up to the roof to get a better look at it.
I would never run anywhere that wasn't the ground floor during an earthquake event. That is insane.
I chalked this up to people who are not familiar with earthquakes. Like, it's not their norm. Like in California, we would never go to the roof, and an earthquake would be like, yeah, it's time to either stay exactly where the fuck you are or get to the ground.
Yeah. The ground be quaking. Y'all don't want to be up in a building shaking. Like, get your ass to the ground.
Yes and no. So, weird earthquake facts. A lot of larger buildings are built to specifically sway with earthquakes, especially here where earthquakes happen all the time.
Yeah.
So that you could be safe in your apartment in an earthquake. On the ground, you might also be safe. However, if buildings fall, they fall onto you on the ground. So there is also this like idea of like, if you're on the ground, you have to pick your spots carefully. If you're on like an open field, you're fucking fine.
Yeah.
But if you're in a crowded street, well, maybe you're not fine, and maybe a gas line breaks, and maybe fires start. So, like, you know.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyway, they go up to the roof. Worst plan. And literally, they watch as what looks like an explosion and then missiles get launched at them. And it like takes out parts of the roof, but it very much is reminiscent of that dorm 9/11 video.
Yeah.
Because they do the same thing that all those kids in that dorm video do, and they scream and run down the stairs where they're just like, nope, done, down the stairs. They get down to street level and it's chaos. No one can find anyone. It was a party full of people. So people are like all over. They can't find their friends. They don't know where Jason is. They don't know where anybody is.
I mean, there were probably 50 people at that party.
Yes.
And we are left with like 5 people at the end of this like event right here.
Right.
You know, like everyone else bones the fuck out and probably lived because they were evacuated to safety.
Yes. So they get down to the street and the crowds are running past them. And if there's one thing I know from having lived near cities most of my life, if a crowd runs past you, run with them. Don't stay. Just run. It doesn't matter what's happening. Don't stop to figure out what's happening. Just run away from whatever they're running away from.
I learned this tonight about rats.
Yes.
If I see rats running in just one direction, I'm going to run with
Run
one
the
direction.
fuck away. Yes. Yes. But a bunch of people stop and take pictures, but this is where they watch as like buildings are collapsing, there's more explosions, and something tumbles down the street in a cloud of dust, and it is the Statue of Liberty's head. And at that point, I would be like, we're getting the fucking fuck out of here, which is basically what they do.
Yeah. The first casualty in this whole movie, though, I have to point out, is the Empire State Building, because that's the building you see collapse in this.
Well, no, that's this next scene. So the head has rolled.
Yeah.
And they stop to take pictures instead of running. And on the camera, he catches the first sign of something moving.
Yeah.
As the Empire State Building collapses, which again, if you saw the Statue of Liberty's head in the street and you're like, oh my God, and then you looked up and the Empire State Building collapsed, you'd be like, we're dead.
Yeah.
We're dead right now. Like, kiss each other because we are dead. We're all dead. Run as long as you can, but then we're all gonna die. And tonight's the night, apparently, and there's nothing you can do about it. But they run, finally, into a bodega. Again, very reminiscent of that 9/11 video where the dust from the Empire State Building collapsing floods the streets, goes past the front of the bodega.
It looks just like that too, man.
It looks just like it.
And that footage was all over the news for months.
Oh, yeah.
Like months after 9/11, man. It was crazy.
Yes, it was nuts. But they all kind of hunker down in a bodega and then they hear things thudding outside, which are like, is that an explosion? Is it more earthquakes? But they're also hearing roars.
I thought it was like footprints. I mean, we don't come to find what he looks like for a while.
We never fully see what it looks like.
That's true too. But like I took it like they were the steps of his feet.
Right.
Or its feet, whatever it is, as it walked by on a street that wasn't exactly their street.
Right, exactly.
Because it does sound big, but not like it's going to crush us right now big.
Well, so we will find out because it pauses for a second and Jason goes outside. They all kind of emerge where they find Marlena, who is covered head to toe in dust. And she says, it walked right over my head.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's alive. And then TJ Miller's like, I know, I got it on tape. Let's rewind it. And no one can figure out what it is. We don't see them looking at the footage, right? Because he rewinds it.
Right. We actually get a glimpse of Coney Island.
Yeah, Coney Island, because he rewound it, which means that he like erased that part of the footage. But so they're like, okay, we got to get the hell out of here. Let's head to the Brooklyn Bridge. As they're heading there, Marlena, Lizzie Kaplan, is not okay. And he's like, is she okay? And she just says, it was eating people. It was eating everyone.
And she's like covered in that dust.
Yeah.
She's almost stoic in that. It's like she's shell shocked, you know?
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah.
Like she cannot process what just happened to her.
Yeah.
I don't understand her motivation of staying with these people.
Me either. I honestly feel like she is so shocked by what is going on. She doesn't know what to do and is just glomming onto the person around her that she knows at all.
Yes, I think it is that where it's like, I don't know what is fucking, because she's with them when they try to escape from the bridge, but after the bridge goes, anything can fucking happen. And so it's just like, at least I know you and we are still alive right now.
Yeah.
But this reminded me of the later portion of that dorm video where if you've watched it all the way through, they close up on things falling out of the building. And at first they're like, is that an office chair?
Yeah.
No, that's a person.
Yeah.
But it's that same kind of they were eating people. Like what even is happening right now?
Yeah, man. That's a really good comparison because that is very much the look on their faces as they're watching that.
Yep.
And they showed that on the news, guys.
On the news.
I saw that footage on like CNN or Fox News or whatever we were flipping back and forth that day. I'm sure everyone carried it.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then, so they're moving towards the Brooklyn Bridge. None of them have cell service. And when they get to later in this movie and his battery dies, we have to talk about it because it was something that I had like completely forgotten about how cell phones used to be.
Yeah, man.
And I can't wait to talk about it when we get there. Anyway, so they walk past a medic tent and people are just screaming. Like, it is chaos. And the police are like, if you're not injured, keep moving. Just go.
Yeah.
Run. Get out of here. So they get to the Brooklyn Bridge and they are moving across the bridge and they're kind of getting separated. And he gets a phone call from Beth. Miraculous. Phone is working. Oh my God. He stops to take the call and she is trapped in her apartment. We will find out. But because he stops, they kind of end up further back in the crowd. Jason ends up further forward. He gets up on one of the pylons to kind of look for them. And as he does, they see people in the bridge underneath them where the cars are getting out of their cars and running the opposite direction. And again, whatever direction people are running, run with the people running.
Yeah,
Like-
treat it like you're in Spain, guys, and run from the bulls. Like, get away.
Yes.
Run with that crowd.
Run with that crowd.
Trip a few. Like, get out. Like, get in front.
Just run.
Yeah.
And as we're kind of processing like, oh no, something is on the other side of the bridge, something is happening. What I can only describe as a tentacle just sexily flops over the bridge.
It almost looks kind of like a tail. Like, I'm not sure what it is. And we never really get like a, this is what the monster looks like moment.
Yeah.
So, like, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
It could have been his dick. Like, I don't know.
Who knows? Just some big thing just flops over and it's big enough to collapse the bridge and kill Jason instantly. And now they are running in a race against gravity as the bridge is collapsing behind them. But it means that they are now trapped in Manhattan until they can either get to another bridge or get to another exit of some sort.
I heard it was the monster's dong that did that too.
Yeah,
Todd said that like 3 minutes ago.
Well, it's been 3 minutes.
And you know how often men think about dongs, right, Paige?
Every 3 minutes.
Every 3 minutes.
Apparently.
After 3 minutes, you're ready for round two.
I do think sometimes whenever I'm speaking, Mikey is just tuning out me.
I'm just not used to you saying funny things.
Anyway,
Oh, God.
You talk a lot, bro.
we all do. We like multiple times a week. Like people pay us to do it.
Yeah, like this is like I talk like it's my job.
Yep. Anyway, Rob is phone pilled and he is just like, all he cares about is talking to Beth, getting back to Beth because Beth is alive. And as they run back.
She turned on the green light on the dock.
I know.
That's what happened, like metaphorically speaking. Am I right, Mikey?
No, because she was available. Rob.
Was she available, Mikey?
Yes.
Or does she show up at the party with another man?
She was available when he slept with her.
I'm sorry, did Gatsby and that floozy not sleep together before they got together?
She was not having feelings for him. This girl obviously was into him, told him about it. He ghosted her. That is not a Gatsby move. Gatsby does not ghost. Gatsby hunts forever until it kills him.
I mean, Gatsby and her broke up initially, right? Like, didn't they? It's been so long since I've read or watched one of those properties.
They went on one date while she was like betrothed to the rich guy.
Yeah, like over like a summer or something
Yes.
one time. But again, I don't want to get too far into this because I don't want to get emails about it because I am not going to go back and read Great Gatsby right now.
I believe she rejected him because she had to marry someone in her station and he was not in her
Yes.
station. And then he spends the rest of his life trying to get to that station.
He Count of Monte Cristo's himself. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This one is not. It's similar where he's an idiot and kills everyone because he's still in love with her. But he could have just had a nice Coney Island day, had sex with her, and had a relationship, and none of this would have happened. Again.
Yeah, fully.
That's fair. Anyway, they're back in Manhattan and now they're just like, what do we even do? And they pause for a second in front of a Sephora for convenient product placement as they see a bunch of people looting an electronics store. And his battery, Rob's battery, is dead. And so he runs into the electronics store to pick up a new phone battery. And I had this thought of like, oh my God, I forgot. We used to be able to take our phone batteries in and out.
Yeah, so at first I was like, man, I hope the power doesn't cut out, and I hope he doesn't want to go anywhere for the next hour while he's charging his phone.
Right.
And then you see him just swap batteries on his phone like he's changing out a clip in a gun, and I'm like, oh shit, you could do that back in the day.
Yes, you could do that.
And every battery, like even new batteries, came with like a half charge on it. You knew you were good for like 6 to 10. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and they were universal sizes, right? So
Yeah.
like it didn't matter what phone you had. There were like multiple battery sizes and any electronic store would have carried them. But yeah, that was something I saw in this movie. I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like that used to be our lives.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes in and gets a new battery. TJ Miller follows him because he has seen what's happening on the street and that the army is like, we are the army. Get the fuck out. Like, go this way. Please leave. Evacuate the area. And so he goes into the electronics store like, hey man, we need to get out or else we're going to die. And Rob is like a man on a mission. He gets a battery for his phone. He is like trying to call Beth. She's not picking up.
I think, is this where he gets the voicemail from her though? Because while his phone is dead, she leaves a voicemail.
Yes, this is where he gets the voicemail.
When he turns his phone back on.
And
Right.
like while he's in there and TJ Miller's in there, he's also like capturing footage from the news that's playing on the screen.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's done really well because he just like zooms in on it, and then we get sort of a not quite cropped right like newscast, you know?
Yes.
And it like tells us a lot. It shows us the most we've seen of the monster, which is still not much.
Yeah.
At this point, through like what would be like traffic copter news footage. It's like really well done.
In my notes, I was like, this is so smart because you need that information. You need them to get that information story-wise, right?
Yeah.
And if this was any other, you could also have done this found footage-wise if you were cutting it together as like a found footage movie instead of just like a found footage asset, which is basically what this does. If you were doing this as a movie, you would have cut that news footage in.
Yeah, you would have.
Right? To be like, this is also what was happening, right? They're not going to do that because it's just, this is what this camera captured that day. And also similarly is reminiscent of a lot of those 9/11 footages where people are in their apartment on the news and then also have their camera looking out the window. So like it's that, but it allows us to get story and information in a way that does not feel unreal for the world they've created.
It's really well done. I've never heard it said that way. Instead of a found footage movie, it's a found footage asset.
Yeah.
And that makes, like, I really do love that level, the found footage asset level of commitment.
Yes.
I don't know that I've ever seen a found footage movie do that level of commitment. Because even Blair Witch Project has like 2 cameras and someone after the fact edited that together.
Right. And I feel like most found footage movies straddle that line of like, we're trying to make it like this was found and it's creepy what happened to these people, but also somebody definitely edited this together into a movie, air quotes. A found footage asset, which is what this movie is trying to be, is literally we picked up this camera and this is what was on it.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I think it is very successful, which is why I think I like it a little better. It makes a little bit more sense to me in that way. I think this is one of those places where found footage is used well, and it was the right choice for this story.
And it inspired hundreds of awful films.
Truly. Truly.
Often really amazing films do. Like, not every Matrix ripoff is Equilibrium, you know?
Yeah, or Gattaca.
Gattaca is very different from The Matrix.
Only kind of.
What?
He's a very big Gattaca fan.
I love Gattaca.
Gattaca's only okay.
I know. I agree with you, Paige.
Love it.
I mean, like, it's not bad. I would never say Gattaca's bad.
No, it's not bad. It's just not as good as other films.
Save nothing for the swim back. Sorry. I just like so many movies that Andrew Niccol did around that time. Like Gattaca, Simone, all those. So great.
Simone's fun. Anyway, he is now on a mission to try and get to Beth. And they're like, we need to just fucking leave, bro. Because he got this voicemail where she's like, I'm trapped under the wall. Like, my apartment fell on me. This is where I'm at. And at this point, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm like, the likelihood of her surviving what has A, happened to her is so slim, and B, continuing to survive while this event is going on, even slimmer. And also the likelihood that you will get there in time, even if the improbability of her surviving both what has happened to her and B, what is continuing to happen, C, that you will get there in time to save her before she's alive. So improbable. If you're going to go, certain death, but I ain't going with you.
Right?
It's like I always say, if you don't impale her with a pole, another pole will impale her.
That is what he always says. He has it on a shirt.
And oddly enough, it is this. It's like the still of her with the pole through her shoulder.
With the pole through her shoulder.
Yeah.
But I'm just like she's dead. This sounds terrible, but I'm like, if I hear that voicemail, she's dead. I'm leaving. I am running. She is dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm at.
I mean, I would, like, if Mikey was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get her, I would be like, this is where our paths don't join, my friend.
I can't follow you down that path, my friend.
And I will be seeing you later or perhaps not at all.
Yeah. Anyway, she is dead. And if you are my friend and I can physically overpower you, you ain't going either. I will drag you.
No, I would definitely try and stop Mikey if he tried to do this. Mikey's bigger than me, so like I would probably fail in my effort, but yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I like really was in love with someone, but then the voicemail pretty much makes it sound like she's dead. So I'd probably be like, I've lost my brother and the woman I loved. What a sad day.
It's either I can live or I can, yeah, whatever. But like you heard Jake earlier when he was like, no, if you're dying, I'm out. I get it. I no hard feelings.
Just find a hottie walking off that bridge and trauma bond the fuck with her.
I will see you in heaven, sir. Bye. Like, that's you. I don't want you to die saving me if you don't have to. She's unsavable at this point within the world of the movie. I would never go after her.
No, I wouldn't either.
She's dead. Now you're even. You ghosted her, and now she's
ghosting you.
He's going to bring a date to her memorial service in a few months.
Yes.
If I looked at her building and there was another building collapsed on it, and that collapsed, I would be like,
Mikey, she's in the collapsed building that
I
they
know.
climb over into.
I would be like, we're not going there. Like, that's not gonna happen.
No, because we could all die just being in there. That building could collapse at any moment.
I wouldn't have gone in that building if I was TJ Miller or the other people. I would have just been. I know we're skipping. I skipped ahead. I'm sorry. I'll wait for we get there.
No, but I would have been furious when we arrived there because I would have been like, I fucking told you she was fucking dead. Let's fucking leave. What are we doing here?
I wouldn't have gone in the tunnels. I wouldn't have done any of this. I wouldn't have made any of these decisions, which is the only infuriating part of this movie. But I get with that. Like I said, they need to start in the mineral, and then like they just keep running into the creature. Like the creature's running around.
The creature is following them around. Like that creature really fucking hates TJ Miller, and he's looking for him all night.
Here's my headcanon. I think there's more than one.
There is more than one. There has to be, because some of the ones we see in like the over the like city news footage are way bigger than the one we encounter that picks up TJ Miller, eats half of them, and spits the rest out. Like way bigger.
Yeah, so I think there's more than one. And so that's why they keep encountering them. There is more than one. And their only hope was to get out early, which they could have done at this point if they hadn't followed their idiot friend.
Damn it, Rob.
Damn it, Rob.
I mean, Mike, Rob, whatever your name is.
Anyway, they try to go save her. They're on foot. And literally a Russian guy stops them and is like, you need to leave. Like, get out. Do not go this way. Go the other way. And they just are like, sorry, bro.
All of that is said in Russian, which I thought was wild.
Yeah, but you get the meaning, you know.
Oh, yeah, you definitely know what he's saying.
Yeah, but they are running and they end up in between. And this is one of the scariest fucking parts for me. They end up in between the monster and the army.
Oh, man, this is nuts because they're flocked either way. Like,
right.
Oh, yeah. It's so well done, though. Like, it looks so good, guys. I was so blown away because, again, my expectations were that this was going to be a $50,000 budget, like really low budget movie. Like, that was great, but very low budget.
Yeah.
So the fact that you had a fucking actual tank rolling down the street that's shooting at a CGI monster that still looks somewhat convincing, even though it was like 16 years ago or whatever this movie came out. Like, so I was so impressed.
Like, it's because they're only showing pieces. That's why it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just firing because they're just firing everything they've got at this thing. And if you're in the middle, you're fucking dead. So you see civilians getting mowed down as the army is trying to shoot this thing. So they duck into the subway. And we do get a bit of a reprieve here because they stop on the subway. It's probably the first time anyone's phone from that era ever worked in the subway. But he gets a phone call from his mom.
This is brutal, man.
And has to tell his mom that his brother's dead, which is brutal. And I do think from an emotional standpoint, this is a very good emotional core moment in this movie. They do a great job with it.
It was odd, though, when the mom was like, well, what are you doing now? And he said, I'm going further in town to save the girls trapped in a pile of rubble. And his mom was like, what the fuck are you doing and why did the smart brother die?
Yeah, what are you doing? Why?
Why did my smart son get thrown off a bridge and I'm stuck with you running through a city
Wrong
after
damn kid died.
Yeah.
Some real Ricky Bobby vibes. Yeah.
Anyway, he hangs up the phone, and at first they think that like he and Lily are kind of grieving, and they're like, all right, I guess we just wait it out here till we can go back up and, you know, figure out what we're going to do, or just stay here until it all blows over, which, believe it or not, if they had just stayed there, they might have survived. If they had just stayed in that tunnel, they would have had to encounter the little spidery things.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know because the bites kill you, which I thought we'll get there. Oh,
Yeah, we don't know, but we also don't know at what point those things got down into the subway. So who knows?
yeah. What part of the line they got in on? If it, you know,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway, Rob gets up, looks at the map, and he's like, if we just walk along this tunnel, it'll put us right by her apartment. And at this point, I would have slapped him across the face because I would have been like, we're not going to no fucking apartment. We are getting out. Like, whatever out is.
Get your shit together, Rob. We're leaving.
Like, she's dead, dude. She is dead. Did you just see what we just saw? She's fucking dead. We're leaving. But instead, they walk the tunnels. Now, here's the thing. I probably would have walked the tunnels because that would have seemed safe to me because it's underground.
Safer than being on the surface streets for sure. Yeah.
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 But like out of town, not further into town.
Right, exactly. And so they have like night vision on the camera, but they see a bunch of rats running. And they don't immediately start running where the rats are running. Like, they take a second.
Yeah, they're like weird. Rats are running like it's that scene in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And then that's when they like turn on the night vision to see if there's something coming
And
down
they
the cave.
see 'em.
And they do see it over. Oh,
Scariest
that scared
part of the movie
shit
is
out of
this
me,
whole
guys.
thing.
Yeah, exact, Mikey. This was the scariest moment of the movie for me, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and so they have to fight them off, but Lizzie Kaplan gets bit. But they find a door and it's like a break room. So they like break into the vending machine.
Yeah.
So they can get water to like rinse things off. And they've all lived, but like Lizzie Kaplan has lost a lot of blood. She's not doing great.
Yeah.
They go through whatever the nearest like station exit is, and it empties them into a department store. And as Lizzie Kaplan's walking, she's like, I'm dizzy. No, I'm fine. Like I'm going. And as they're determining whether or not they should stop, they are confronted by soldiers with guns who are like, we found civilians, and realize that there is a full ass like military hospital set up in this department store.
Yeah.
And they take them through to the other side. So as they're walking through, we do see people on gurneys and they're like, this one's a bite. This one's a bite. And
Yeah.
they're taking dead people on gurneys and they are like mutilated. And even like TJ Miller with the camera's like, oh, gross. And like looks away from it. But as they're kind of walking through, Lizzie Kaplan's not looking good.
No, she's like sick. Yeah.
She's sick. And all the soldiers are like, you have to get off the island right now. Like, you fuck your girlfriend. She is dead. You need to get out right the fuck now because they're about to bomb this entire place.
Yeah.
They're about to raise Manhattan to the ground and you need to leave.
I like that they do this though. They put like a ticking clock on how much time they have to like be off of the whole fucking island. And that
Right.
time frame is they're going to try one more time to kill it, like with like tanks
Yeah.
and missiles and shit. They're going to try one more time. And then after that, we're going to nuke this bitch or whatever that final
yeah,
like
nuke it from the sky. It's the only way to be sure.
we got to nuke it from orbit. Like whatever
Yeah.
their Etch-a-Sketch version of Manhattan is, that they're going to do after they try just one more time. Because like
Right.
we see them setting up to do it one more time, doing it one more time, and then what happens after. And it like does a really good job of like how much time they have left to make it out alive. And I really liked that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I also liked it. We didn't say this before at like the very beginning party scene, but it's clear that TJ Miller has a thing for like Lizzie Kaplan's character.
Yes.
And
yes.
listen,
Yes.
party down aside, she could date whoever she
I
wants.
love Party
But
Down.
Adam Scott is like her boyfriend in my mind because of Party
I know
Down.
because they're so good in Party Down.
Yeah, but he's been trying to like pick her up all night, well, before this happened. And then
Right.
like she saves him in the tunnel. And so they do sort of in a weird non-romantic way have a little bit of a bond.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like immediately what happens to Lizzie Kaplan happens. It's so sad and like so quick.
Because Rob paid us to set up a trauma bonding experience for them.
No, I hate this.
I mean, it backfired.
Yeah, it did.
But listen, there are some tragedies when you hire Mikey bonding
Oh, God.
for your dating service.
I prefer to call it Mikey's Bondage Company.
No, I feel like people are going to misunderstand what your point is.
Mikey Bondage Inc., where we set you up with your future spouse through trauma bonds.
Oh, God. Anyway, so Lizzie Kaplan, not doing good.
No.
And we turn to her and she's like gray and her eye is bleeding and everyone freaks the fuck out.
We literally hear someone in like a hazmat suit yell, "We got a bite!" and then grab her. And then she gets like dragged out of that room.
Into quarantine where she's like barfing blood and then her head explodes, basically.
Yeah, she like explodes. It's all done in like silhouette on like a hazmat area that we're like seeing the inside of. But man, it was so good.
It was good.
It was so well done.
Yeah.
But it's also like, what the fuck is happening? I think this is one of those other moments I was like, Jesus Christ, like what is going on?
Yeah, who knows? But at this point, they are assigned to a soldier and the soldier's like, I got to take you guys to the choppers. And he walks them through and he gives them another shot. He's like, you have until 6 a.m. to get your friend. I can't stop you from going. Meanwhile, TJ Miller's like grieving. He's like, but at 6 a.m. it's hammered down protocol. They are going to nuke the city, basically. So they run because they are now, I guess, pretty close to where they needed to be. But they find her building and it is knocked over against another building. And at that point, everyone should have turned back and just gone to the helicopters.
And they are like talking out, instead of doing that, how they could go get into her like apartment through her building. And like TJ Miller, like he's just throwing out a yes and an improv, comes up with what is a quote good idea. Still would never do this.
No, because the building could collapse on you at any moment.
Of course. But when Rob is like, oh, we could climb up the building next to it and then jump over to the roof and then get down to her building, TJ Miller's like, fuck, the one time they listened to me is what? No, we shouldn't do this. This is a terrible idea. And he's right. He shouldn't have gone with them.
No, he shouldn't have gone with them. So they climb up so many flights of I would not have made it up that many flights of stairs after the night they've had, after being awake all day.
It's like 57 floors, Paige.
It's no thank you.
And if you adjust for inflation, that's like 79 stairs.
But they climb across to the other building and then climb down, and we don't see them climb down. We just see them get to the 39th floor. They skip the climb down part, thankfully. Otherwise, it's just like the toughest section of Horizon Zero Dawn where you have to like go up into the old skyscrapers.
Yeah. But this is so cool and it's so well done because you are seeing them walk through the stabilized building into a building that is leaning over on them. And that has to have been done in just a huge F-off warehouse that was green screen. Like everything was a green screen.
It's gotta be a big set.
Because the city is behind them. Like you see the skyline of the city of New York behind them.
So I think they did it the way they did Inception, which is only a few years after this and also had been done before in an NSYNC video that was only a few years before this, where they build a tumble room.
Yeah.
And because the only thing we really see tumbling is the hallway where it's at that canted angle. Yeah, and then they make it into her apartment, and her apartment miraculously not at a canted angle. It's the one thing they didn't quite do right. But that apartment itself, I think, is in a warehouse where they just have like green screen or something. And it's only slightly tilted. It's not drastically tilted the way the hallway is, but
I'm talking about just the transfer from the stabilized building to the bent over building that's like crushed over onto them. That one set alone had to be just a big green screen room. And they probably then tore that set down and then did her apartment in that same green screen room. But like, because of that like commitment and that budget, like that shit looks real good.
It does look good. It does look good. So they get to her and she is unconscious and she has a piece of rebar literally just like through her chest, probably pierced a lung. Like that's something that could kill you in normal circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like she's dead.
Well, they do struggle to like wake her up though. I mean, he's like shaking her. I thought she was dead at first too. And I was like, if I was TJ Miller, I'd be like, fucking
I'd be
told
so
you
fucking
so, you son of a
furious.
bitch. We should have left. Like, I'd have been so mad.
But this is the most likely outcome. Like,
It is.
in all likelihood, they wouldn't have been able to get into the building. Her building would have been just a pile of ash.
Yeah,
But, you know.
absolutely. But before TJ Miller can like take a deep breath and let out all of that, she starts to wake up.
She does.
And she's like, you came for me. And he's like, of course I came for you, babe.
Told you I would always come for you. I'm the Dread Pirate Roberts.
At some point, we should probably talk about your boyfriend. Like, she
Yeah.
brought
No,
someone
he
else
did.
to
He's
the party.
dead.
He's dead. He's on the other side of this apartment.
He fell.
Totally. They're not going to save him at all.
That would be funny if he was like, they get her up off this rebar, and he's like, help me. And they're like, fuck you, Tony. You slept with my girlfriend. And then just left. I forgot that character's name. So in my mind, he was Tony.
Travis. You were close.
His name was, I was close. Wow. Okay.
Travis. I do also like, because they're like, okay, we're going to lift you off the rebar. And she's like, no, leave me.
Yeah.
Leave me here. I am almost dead. Leave me. And the fact that they weren't like, okay, like we'll say our goodbyes, that they instead lift this poor woman off that rebar, and her screams are great. Like, the actress did a phenomenal job.
I think everyone does a good job in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
But then
does.
they like sit her up as if she's not going to lose gallons of blood.
That's a through and through, man. I've seen people like live through that stuff. Like, I've read articles. I've not seen it personally, but like it'll go through and they'll leave it in, go to the doctors, and the doctors will like safely remove it in a way that so
Yes.
you don't bleed out. Like, that is not something you could just like rip out and be like, all right, throw your jacket around my shoulder. We got to hoof it out of here.
Yeah. Now you got to do tons of cardio and climbing to get down in time for then us to run to the helicopter, which
That then crashes.
thankfully this is something that they like cut out, because we don't watch them climb back down all those stairs.
No, we do not.
We catch them running, and then in one section of the stairs they run into one of those little spider things, and they like hit it so it doesn't bite them. They keep running.
Her ex gives him the axe. Boom! That's the joke I
Boom.
wrote for today.
I do love that TJ Miller is, because she's like, what the fuck is that? And he just says, something else that's also terrible. Keep going.
Yes.
Like, just go. Run.
Well, because as they're getting off of the roof, when they're showing that, they showed the big fucking monster and them setting up and
Yes.
actually fighting it in their quote, we're going to try and kill it one last time. End quote.
Right.
And we very clearly see them failing to do that as they're struggling to get across. Like, this movie does a great job of making it feel like at any moment they could get squished or killed or shot by the army or by mistake, like just crazy shit.
Yes.
Because, and I think they do a good job of showing us at the very beginning, the city isn't safe.
Yeah.
And then by killing Rob's brother Jason on the bridge so like matter-of-factly and just out of nowhere, they show us that like none of your main cast is safe either.
Yeah, no one is safe.
So like it is tense the whole time. Like the movie does a really good job of holding that, I think.
Yeah. Well, and so they make a run for it to get to the helicopters, and they watch as like the monster steps on a tank.
Yes.
And just crushes a tank. So at that point, you're just like, oh, nothing is safe. Nothing. It's a fucking tank. And it's just gone.
And then out of nowhere, Tarantino runs into the scene. He's like, "Oh my god, that foot's
It's the
so
biggest
strong."
foot I've ever seen.
Put it in my mouth and pour beer down your leg.
Do it, Cloverfield monster. Do it. Don't make it weird. Do it. Anyway, they make it to where the choppers are. And they're like, okay, you guys are in the next one. So Lily gets into a chopper, and I assume that chopper just gets swatted out of the sky. We don't really see it happen, but it is implied.
I think she might live though. Like we don't see her helicopter specifically blowing up. So like in my mind, she got away. Good for her. She lost her boyfriend because she was dating Jason.
She lost everyone she knew that night, unfortunately.
Hopefully her family is somewhere safe.
Yeah.
These are like college friends, so she would have been fine in like 7 years anyway.
You know, when you lose a college friend, it's like going through bankruptcy. In 7 years, you're right as rain.
7 years just falls off your record.
They grew apart. They grew apart in the bombs that were dropped on them.
Yeah.
And she,
They grew in the
moved-
ground in their graves, and she continued to grow as a person.
Yes.
But anyway, they get in their helicopter, and they're watching the like stealth bombers bombing the monster, and they're like, oh my god, we got it. But literally hubris, as soon as he's like, we got it, it jumps out of the ash and swats them out of the air.
Yeah. Well, because like Mikey pointed out, like the guy who's flying the evac helicopter is like in an attack formation, like rubbernecking around trying to see the monster dead.
Yes.
And they didn't need a stealth bomber because the animal knew that they were there. They just could use regular bombers.
Yeah. It didn't have to be a stealth.
But it was like
no, it was a fixed wing bomber. It was a stealth bomber. Yeah. But like it is funny because that monster don't have radar, buddy.
No, he don't know. Like it's coming. So they get swatted out of the air and they miraculously survive the helicopter crash, which your likelihood of surviving a helicopter crash is so slim. Like it is one of the most deadly, like almost no one survives helicopter crashes ever.
Just ask Stevie Ray Vaughan.
So like the fact that they do. Kobe Bryant, like any number of people.
There's so many great people who have died. I don't know if all of those people were great, but there's so many people who have died in helicopter crashes. Like they are dangerous.
Well, yeah, just because it's like, and this sounds terrible, there's so much more of a plane to hit and crash and cushion you from impact than there is in a helicopter.
Also, planes typically land softer even when they're crashing because they are made to glide, essentially.
Right.
Helicopters are beating the wind into submission, and if ever those propellers stop, wind's gonna win.
But also, those propellers could also kill you because
I know.
like they're spinning so
it's
fast.
Like shrapnel from hell. Yeah, like
it's just like a food processor for people.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I hope Boeing doesn't make helicopters. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. But on the other side of that, helicopters look hella cool.
They do.
They do.
Yeah. I happen to know pilots, like airplane pilots and helicopter pilots, got a real chip on their shoulders about the others.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
It's like cops and firefighters in the aviation world.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, they survive an what I would call unsurvivable crash, but they do survive it.
And we know it's unsurvivable because everyone whose first name we don't know does not survive it.
Nope, they die. But they pull Rob out.
Yeah.
His leg is fucked up. They try to treat it, but literally they look up and the monster is over. Like they are underneath it. It eats TJ Miller. He screams, the camera and his body falls. And for some reason, the other two stop to grab the camera before running away. The most improbable thing of the movie.
Can I say this about when they drop the camera?
Yes.
When the camera drops and it drops and shows TJ Miller's face, and then the focus is like trying to find what it needs to focus on. Like I've had my camera do that, and I'm like, okay, fine. I didn't set up a great shot, like composition wise, but this is what I'm trying to capture. Stop shaming me, autofocus. So
and you have to turn the autofocus off. Yes.
That was like, that to me felt like a DP, like a director of photography joke on some level. And also like pointing fun at like how shitty of a cameraman he is. I don't know. I sort of enjoyed that moment.
It's also because this is cameras at the time too. Like
true,
this is basically a Sony
true.
Handycam.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, very true. But then they do come grab that camera.
They do come grab that camera, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they run to Central Park. They trip and fall, but they end up in a bridge underneath. They do their goodbyes, essentially, of like, here's all the people who died. Here's who we are.
Just, to bookend, like you said before, the going away, like, we're going to miss you, Rob video, like, here's who we are introductions.
Yes. Then there's an explosion above. The camera gets buried. Before the camera cuts out, they say, I love you. And then we cut back to the end of their day in Coney Island with a kind of tongue-in-cheek her saying, I had a good day.
Yeah.
And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what do you guys think about Cloverfield?
It does hold up.
Yes, very much liked it.
I was, again, expecting something way low budget. So, man, was I blown away by this movie. Even after seeing Bad Robot and knowing that was J.J. Abrams, I assumed he got involved just for distribution. And it's clear he got involved to, like, build it up. Like, it's good.
No, this was one of his, like, first post-Lost projects here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he crushed it. Like,
just like he would later crush the Star Wars franchise. My personal Cloverfield monster.
I sort of wish we got more movies like and I'm going to say in this universe, but like that are more of a continuation of this movie and not necessarily with these actors. Like everyone I think in the movie that we follow is dead, but like I want to know more about this monster, like where it came from, all of that stuff. And in the movies we've seen, they fully do not give you any of that information. In 10 Cloverfield Lane and this one, we don't get any of that.
Welcome to my last 10 years, 15 years of life here where I've been super pissed the sequels did not actually revisit stuff of the original movie.
I know there's at least one more, right? The Cloverfield Paradox. Is that what that one's called?
Yeah, that's more recent. I haven't seen that one, actually.
Well, let me tell you, it's on Netflix, and these astronauts go to space, and they get sucked into different dimensions, and one of them has the monster in it.
Oh, okay. So kind of like Event Horizon, but not as good?
Yes, kind of like that.
Okay.
Well,
all right,
Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I have a lot of fun facts, and I think they're going to make you happy because it shows how dedicated they were to the realism of this film.
Hell yes. Well, here it is with those fun facts. Those
Monster
real fun facts.
So Lizzie Kaplan, when she was auditioning for this movie, thought it was a romance movie until her second audition where she read a scene. But after she accepted the role, so like she signed on not knowing it was a monster movie. In fact, all of the actors were required to sign on without having read any portion of the script because they wanted to keep it a secret. So all of these people signed on for what they did not really know and took the role only to find out it was this.
That's a leap of faith, man. Good for them. I mean, it's probably because J.J. Abrams was doing it and he was like...
He was
sort
still
of
new
a minor,
at the time, though.
I know, but he had done like a lot of successful TV shows and like I
Not
could see
really.
them.
Lost was still... This is like season 1. This was still early when they would have been auditioning for this. So he was like hot, but like not the way we know now. Like this would have been a leap of faith for sure.
I mean, good for them for making it because it's great.
Yeah. Now this one particularly I think will tickle you, Todd. But the runtime of the film without credits, so without the, title card that they put on for Department of Defense is 80 minutes. The reason it is 80 minutes is because that's the length of a long-running mini DV tape, which was the format that was used in camcorders at the time. So they did that on purpose, which I think is pretty great.
That's great.
I already talked about the trailer. This played before Transformers in 2007 as a trailer with no title. But let's talk about that trailer because it is the scene with the Statue of Liberty's head rolling down the street. That is also an homage to Escape from New York from 1981 because the poster for Escape from New York depicts the head of the Statue of Liberty lying in the middle of the street. However, what they did not know at the time when they decided to include that in the movie is that poster plays with perspective a little bit because the Statue of Liberty is actually smaller than people think. The Statue of Liberty head shown in this movie is about 50% larger than the real one.
Wow, that much larger.
Yes.
Wow.
So initially they did the actual size where they did all of the research to find out how big it would actually be in relation to the buildings. And they did that shot. And they said that people who screened that shot imagined that the head would be a lot bigger. They felt like they had made the head too small. So they actually had to increase the head by 50%. Because it looked too small in the trailer. But really, that's just people not understanding the perspective of how big the buildings are versus the actual Statue of Liberty. But I thought that was really fun, that essentially the Statue of Liberty is smaller than you think. Or rather, streets are way bigger than you think.
Well, no, I remember. There's a documentary where the Statue of Liberty walks down the street in New York City.
Oh, yeah. Back in the 80s when the ghost rose up.
Ghostbusters 2. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And,
that's a good doc, man. Dark time of the city.
It was much smaller than we thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all four, it just takes 4 of them on the head to the whole head.
Yeah, there you go.
Everyone got creamed except for Bill Murray because I hear he was an asshole on the day. Who knows?
I heard about that.
Who knows if it's true? I truly don't know if that's a true story or not.
So the man they encounter in the alley is actually speaking Ukrainian. It is not subtitles, but he is asking for help to find his daughter and the rest of his family because he can't live without them. Which, of course, a very real thing, probably somebody would say to you.
So sad.
Now, during the first weekend of releases, theaters had to post warning signs for guests that the handheld camera movements might cause motion sickness.
Yeah.
Because people did barf in theaters a couple times.
I honestly do think if I had seen this in theaters, it would have been a problem for me.
Oh, yeah.
But watching it at home on a TV, even though the TV is it's a decent sized TV, guys. I do all right, but it's not like a huge TV or anything. It's fine. It's very watchable. But I do think if I was just staring down at that huge screen in a very dark room, I would feel sick.
Yeah, 100%. That's part of why I did not see this in theaters. But one of the things that people have taken issue with, and we mentioned it when we were talking about this, is that Rob could use his cell phone in the subway station. However, this is a case of what people call truth in television. The MTA at the time was actively wiring subway platforms for cell service, specifically on the platforms.
Okay.
So that riders could use their phones during emergencies on the platforms. Not necessarily on the trains, but on the platforms.
Sure, yeah, once they got off the train, yeah.
Exactly. So because of that initiative, after most of Manhattan was bombed, they could have probably still called from the subway platform had they stayed there. It would have been one of the only places with cell phone service.
No shit.
So,
okay.
Yeah. The Dharma Initiative logo is briefly shown early at the start of the film. So if you're a Lost fan.
Wait. So is this a government conspiracy?
It's never explained.
What?
Never explained. But at the time, as part of like viral marketing, because this is one of the first instances of people trying to market a movie this way, Jamie and all of the main characters have MySpace pages. So
do you guys remember MySpace? Good time.
I do.
This was a social media that didn't destroy the humanities.
Yes. Now, the producers made those pages to advertise on MySpace, and the characters all last logged into them on January 18th, 2008. The film's release date.
That's amazing.
Yeah. In order to capture some of the footage, some of it is shot by actors on handycams.
Of course.
So there are sections of this movie that TJ Miller did shoot. But yeah, this was shot in 34 days. Which is a very tight shoot.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially with all the effects they do. Like, there's a lot that's done practically.
Yes, and it is done on a backlot. So we visited a backlot much like this when we were last in LA, the Paramount lot.
It was amazing.
Both that and the Universal backlot. We actually went to both.
Yeah.
This was filmed in their New York sections for some things. They did do a handful of things on site in New York. While they were filming in Los Angeles, the fake title for the film was Slusho. And in New York, the fake title was Cheese. But
okay.
Yeah. The Ferris wheel scene was filmed the first day. So they actually filmed this mostly backwards. And Beth's apartment was filmed on the last day. So and Beth's parents' apartment, which is the first scene of the movie, they're waking up in her parents' apartment because he shows the pictures and he says Dad's apartment's really popping off.
Yeah.
So now the title was initially a code name for the movie. They ended up on Slusho and Cheese later, but it's named after Cloverfield Boulevard in Santa Monica, California, where the Bad Robot production offices were while making the film.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the teaser trailer, there's a voiceover that says, "I saw it. It's alive. It's huge." And that voice does end up in the film as well. But it's the voice of director Matt Reeves in the scene. So
really?
They captured it on the day. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Images from King Kong, the 1933 version, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, the 1953 version, Them, the 1954 version, are all hidden within the film. They are all seen extremely briefly for only a single frame during the camera edit. And they're shown at very, very high frame rates. So basically subliminal messaging, essentially.
Yeah.
So during rehearsal, the director told the actors the most important thing they could do is just hang out with each other so it seems like they were actually friends. So when it came time to shoot the film, it would feel organic. I feel like this is one of the best versions of this in found footage. I think a lot of found footage movies try to manufacture this and don't always nail it.
Yeah, this does a good job.
Yeah.
They also seem like they kind of just tolerate TJ Miller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, it is revealed in the Cloverfield Blu-ray notations. So this is something that doesn't super exist as much anymore, except on Amazon. Amazon does it, where you can see facts if you pause on a frame.
Yeah.
So Travis, Beth's date, left Manhattan Island via his car before the events of the movie begin. You can apparently see him do it in the back of somebody, or this was in the script Bible, that he left via the Lincoln Tunnel and went to his home in Weehawken, and he was at home through the duration of the attack. So apparently there were script notes about what he was doing during the time, and he escaped all of it.
Well, good for him.
Yep.
Man, did he dodge a bullet that night. And
I
a
know.
monster.
Yep.
I thought that Mikey would have
Are
been...
you talking about Beth or are you talking
yeah,
about
there we go.
Cloverfield?
Mikey's now paying attention, guys.
Boom.
Man.
Sorry, I was reading while that was happening.
It's fine. I apparently was just talking to myself.
Okay, so the voice yelling, and we'll end on this one. This one's fun. The voice yelling, "Oh my God," repeatedly when the head of the Statue of Liberty lands on the street is the producer, Brian Burke. So apparently most of the crew is the vocals for that scene, which is fun.
That's awesome. I mean, it does really just sound like they're picking up ambient noise of people yelling in fear. So, like, they nailed it as a crew.
Let's end on this one last one, because we haven't done, there is a reference to this in another movie that you could technically pick for listener requests this month if you wanted to. There's also a textual reference in the opening scenes the Department of Defense screens to DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is responsible for new technology for use by the military. That's also used in Pacific Rim, another movie about giant monsters attacking major cities. Potentially suggesting that these are a shared universe, although I feel like that's just one piece. You would need a lot more evidence. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. And before we get into the box office, let me just say Pacific Rim slaps. I enjoyed that movie.
I fucking love Pacific Rim.
Oh, yeah.
The sequel is amazing, too.
Oh, no, it's not. I hate the sequel.
I haven't seen it.
I love the sequel. It's John Boyega in a giant robot suit. How could you not love it?
The rest, the whole thing, just, the whole thing together.
It's a very different movie than the first one. That is for sure.
Well, let me refocus us up with some box office facts about Cloverfield. So, what do you think the production budget was for this movie when it came out in 2008?
I want to say 27.
Okay.
Maybe less. Maybe like 15. I remember it was cheap.
Yeah, but there is also a lot of CG in it at a time when CG was expensive as fuck. I'm going to say 22.
Okay, guys, Mikey was actually closer with his initial guess. It was $25 million. So with your initial guess, Mikey, you were almost right on. That brings, if you adjust for inflation, that total up to $36 million today. Now, this movie came out the weekend of January 18th, 2008, and it was number one the weekend it came out. It beat the number two movie, which is a movie we've done on Romancing the Pod, 27 Dresses. Number 3 was The Bucket List. Number 4 was Juno, and number 5 was First Friday. What do you think Cloverfield made in its opening weekend?
This was big. This was big at the time.
40 million.
Okay.
I'm going to go a little bit lower because I feel like it built over time. So I'm going to say 35.
Okay. Mikey is exactly right. It was $40 million in its opening weekend. Yeah, it did really well at its opening. It was in the theaters for 12 weeks total. It was in the top 5 for its first 2 weeks. It was its first week, fourth its second week, and ninth its third week, and then fell out of the top 10 and top 20. But it was in theaters for 12 weeks. But what do you think it made domestically at the box office during that run?
I'm going to say 102.
Okay.
I'm going to say 115.
Okay, it was a little bit less. It was actually $80 million domestically.
Okay.
Now, internationally, it made $91.2 million.
That's what's up.
For a total of $171.3 million. And again, that's $2008, which would be, if you adjusted to inflation today, $246.9 million today. But this movie made shit ton of money. It also made $30 million in domestic DVD and Blu-ray sales. So like J.J. Abrams and the people who own this franchise are doing fine.
Sure, of course.
But that's your box office. So Mikey, do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Yeah, Scary Scale listeners is how scary we found the film. We watched it today. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Paige.
This is actually like a 4 for me.
Todd.
I'm going to give it a 5. I was afraid that this was going to be like a super scary movie, and I do think the only thing that saves it from being that for me is that there aren't many jump scares. Because it is like a very tense movie, the whole movie. But there aren't a lot of jump scares. So that's why I only gave it a 5. But it's great though, man.
I'm going to give it a 3 because I really like the film. I think it's more of an action-y film, but it gets really scary in that tunnel. Yeah. I don't like spiders.
And those are like big spiders that just want to impregnate you with an explosion. I don't want that.
It would have busted you.
Because busting makes them feel good.
I saw the news Ghostbusters. I liked it. All right. And that's our Scary Scale.
Well, this week you guys have made us watch Cloverfield. Thank you guys so much for that. What are you making us watch next week?
Next week, we are going to watch 28 Weeks Later. It has been years since you guys did 28 Days Later. I was not even on the show at that time.
No, you were not.
So now, 28 weeks, so we can find out what happens.
I honestly remember thinking that movie left off in a very interesting place, so I'm interested to see what happens 28 weeks after that.
We'll be happy to find out. That doesn't happen to any of the characters from the original one.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing.
Well, shite. All right, well, I'm interested to see where the story goes when we jump back into that universe for next week's 28 Weeks Later.
Cillian Murphy got real famous afterwards.
Well, I mean, he's real good, so I get it.
I heard he's going to come back for 28 years or months later or whatever.
Yeah, the next one that they're making like right now, I heard he's coming back for, yeah.
That would be cool. But everyone make sure you get your homework of watching 28 Weeks Later done before next Monday. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
No.
Well, while you're looking one up, let me read a Spotify comment that was left under our most recent episode, and that's the Terrified episode. And this is from this literally, I'm approving this comment right now. That's how fresh this comment is. It's from Audrey, and she says, "Attention page."
Okay.
I swear to God, it's written that way. All caps and an exclamation point. And it says, "Eat your cereal with a slotted spoon, not a fork. Also,
Pro tip.
y'all make my Monday mornings bearable. Much love to you, spooky humans."
Oh,
Heart
thank you.
Face emoji. So, Audrey, I'm going to go ahead and approve this comment. And thank you so much for leaving it. Mikey, whose review are you going to read this week?
Well, Windy City Jane.
Well, what does Windy City Jane have to say?
Perfect balance of horror and comedy, I think.
Why, thank you.
They say the Horror Virgin is my emotional support podcast. I love horror movies and can talk about them all day, but I don't have many friends that will watch horror. Imagine my delight when I discovered the amazing podcast. Listening to Todd, Paige, and Mikey is like having a conversation about my favorite subject with three smart, funny friends. That's us. All three hosts are nerds in the best way and the funniest movie reviewers. The show is always a good time, especially the episodes that go off the rails.
That does happen.
It does.
Bring in the positive energy and enthusiasm, guys. I find myself laughing along with you, and that is what I mean by emotional support. To many, many more episodes, and long live the Horror Virgin community. 5 well-deserved stars. 5 stars.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have Mikey read your 5-star review or me read your comment, leave us a 5-star review or comment, and we'll do just that. So, guys, if you like this show but want to hear this power throuple on another movie review show about romance and romantic comedies, check out Romancing the Pod, where Mikey, Paige, and I break down and make fun of romantic movies. It's a lot of fun, guys. Check it out. If you want to follow us on social, please do. We are at Horror Virgin or online at horrorvirgin.com. If you want to follow us all individually, you can do that as well. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Twitter, or Rampage Wesley everywhere else, including TikTok. Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome. If you like the show so much and you want to help financially support it, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where you can get a lot of great levels and a lot of great stuff like bonus episodes, director's cut episodes where they're a little bit longer and you get them actually a day earlier than the regular feed drop. We do a lot of great things like listener requests and stuff like that. So guys, check out the Patreon and help support the show.
If you want to financially support me, but not Todd, just look me up on Venmo.
If you can't financially support the show, that's understandable. That's fine. But if you want to hang out with us on the daily, join the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/horrorvirgin. We also link it like once a week, so just find it there and join the awesome Facebook group. Literally, we're in there talking every day. It's awesome. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out our Twitch stream, we're at twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, where we will be playing horror video games. So if you have always wondered what it would be like to watch me get scared, you can now do that on Twitch while I play these horror games. It's twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, guys. Check it out. It's a lot of fun for you. Not a lot of fun for me. So this episode brought to you by Tia, and Tia's teenager's been driving her crazy. So how has Tia's teenager been driving her crazy this week?
She hasn't logged into MySpace since 2008.
Honestly, as much as I love and miss Tom, that's probably the right call. But we appreciate your support, Tia. And this episode is also brought to you by Jonathan, and Jonathan wants me to make you guys watch some videos. So this week he sent me a video from Melvin's I Fuck Around.
Okay.
And if I remember this correctly, it's a song that's set to the Beach Boys' I Get Around.
Nice.
Yeah, say what you will, but I grew up in an era where Weird Al was like pop culture. So like I love me a good parody. And who doesn't love the Melvins? Come on, baby.
Who doesn't love the word fuck? Me, I
All
do.
of those things are reasons I like this song. And honestly, I Get Around sort of slaps for a 60s tune. So like
It's
this is
great.
the combination of some great shit. I'm here for it.
I also love most 60s tunes, so I'm easy to please.
Same.
What was that band that did punk covers of all those songs?
I think you're thinking of Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Oh,
Yes, I am.
yeah. It was me
Yes,
first
I
to
am.
give you games.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to listen to them a lot.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing that Melvins tune with us. And
His power play, his lights
You're going to get
blink.
killed by the Cloverfield monster.
holy shit. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. My Zoom died.
Do you know when it died?
Well, probably when his power just blinked.
Yeah. It went out. I'm going to see if I lost the whole episode.
Okay.
That was scary, bro. Did you see my face?
Yeah. It like went on and off like 3 times. He was just dead shocked. He's like,
That was terrifying. Okay.
the second blink had a ghost in the background. That was
No,
the
that's
scary
not funny.
part.
Shut the fuck up. I hate you. All right. Well, I'm going to record from here on. All right. So we now return you to another episode of
The Patreonicals.
In the Terminator future, they wake up in a burned out husk of a future with skulls everywhere, which doesn't make a lot of sense because there was just not that many people alive. I mean, there's billions, but like there's just not enough to cover the ground in that many skulls in any given moment of any place.
Sure, of course.
So that doesn't check out, but it's there and it's all there.
Sure.
And we awaken in the sky, like the Hunger Games is Isaac saying, "You are being hunted. We know you're in the city." And then Evil Matthew being like, "We designed these memes with just razor arms to cut through you." And like they drop a bunch of Terminators with razors into the city. Laura, the iPad, who is being warned by Madeline, wakes up and is like, "Everybody wake up. There's Terminators coming. And you guys are in trouble." And they're like, "Why?" And then like the couple that the house they were staying at is murdered on the floor. Their throats are cut.
What?
They're like, "What happened?" And then they go upstairs and Natasha and Karun's teeth are all been pulled out
What?
and they're crying.
I would cry too.
And in front of them is this person who's like really shell shocked is sitting there, and it's like they're like, "Why did you pull their teeth out?" And she's like, they're all robots. And then Madeline slaps her in the face and like, "Who the fuck are you?" And then and she's like, my name's Leaf Girl, and I was a dental hygienist in the before time.
But her name now is Leaf Girl?
Look, I didn't name her, bro. Like the names come with it with some suggestions and they get thrown into the story, and this is it. And they're like, "Why?" Okay, so then
Is there a reason for the name, I guess, is my question?
she said she was a dental hygienist in the before. Oh, but the Leaf Girl, we'll have to make one up. But we don't have time for that right now.
Okay.
So Edward's like, "Why'd you pull their teeth out, Leaf Girl? It's a weird name. Why you name that has nothing to do with teeth? It's not a very good theme." And Vixen Avery points a laser gun at her face. It's like, "You better fucking speak." She's like, "The people downstairs with the throat I cut, they're half human cyborgs. Everyone in this town is a robot. You've been fake the whole time." And they're like, "What? That's impossible."
Not again.
No, they're not in but like, no, like it's like they're like Westworld. This is like more like Westworld now.
Oh, sorry.
Get fucking with it.
My bad.
And so Sexcalibur takes his power glove and peels the skin off the two people with the slit throats with the power glove, and they are indeed cyborgs, so they weren't like killed innocents. And then she's like, "I thought the teeth are, it's like what gives them their a lot of their stuff, the power for the cyborgs. So I thought you two were then when they started crying, I knew they were real people, and I can't forgive myself." And they're like, "This is a lot of backstory to introduce a new character," is what River Moon says. And then
it would be natural that River Moon and Leaf Girl would be at odds.
Mr. Rage Bomb has built a bomb out of the cyborg parts. He just starts digging in there to build a bomb. So that's what he's doing. He's like,
Okay.
"Yes, finally." And then Libby has built a sword out of a hand of a of a cyborg.
Okay.
Terminator.
So she's sort of just like smacking people around with the cyborg hand.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Jeremy's like, okay, so if everyone who's thought they were helping us are also robots, we got to laser everybody that we see. And they're like, fuck yeah, Jeremy. And then Florida Man was like, we ain't in Florida anymore. Boezy said that. And then he turns to Allie and he's like, all I want to do is have 7 kids with you and live in a trailer.
Oh, I love that James Arthur song.
And then Wes, who's no longer handsome or a jet ski and is just a regular guy, just starts crying too. And he's like, I don't like the patriarchals anymore. And then Kate uses her psychic powers and she's like, the men's are surrounding us. We have to escape. What are we going to do? And they're like, and then Leaf Girl's like, I know of a way out. This is not a real town, but I know where the real survivors are. You got to follow me. And then and they're like, okay, let's go. And that's the end of the episode.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait till next week to find out what happens on another episode of
The
Patreonicals.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah.
Have a great week.
Bye. Fuck electricity, nerds.
That's right.
I'm so mad about that right now.
So sorry, dude.
We'll see you next week.